Paula, Flowe. Thanks for joining us here on American Safe Pass, where we're learning about the different ways in which children can be harmed, sometimes unbeknownst to parents. And today I have with myself Mr. Russell Hirsch. And tell me, how did you first become interested in GMOs, and why is it that people should be concerned about this?
I first became aware of GMOs because we're a healthy family and try to live long, productive lives, and the more I found out about it, the more I got concerned, and so I started digging in a little bit and finding out all the details behind it and why they exist and what potential harms they could cause us.
Oh.
There's a lot of news out there today from different health websites like Paula and other places that are exposing the fact that these GMOs are so pervasive in our food system.
What are they?
GMOs are genetically modified organisms. And what that means is that we're taking the genes from one organism, like a virus or a bacteria or another animal, and inserting them into the organism of another animal or plant, like a soybean or a corn plant. And that's very different than the historical methods of breeding for desirable traits, because it's done at the genetic level, which actually creates a new organism. We're all made up of DNA.
Okay.
And when we, in chromosomes, and that defines the species, is the nature of our DNA.
Right.
And so when we take that DNA structure and we modify it, we've now created something else.
Okay, something else. So my guess is that not only have we created something else, but the nutritional value that it had originally, is that compromised or almost diminished completely?
Well, it's not clear. What we do know is that there's no increased nutritional value.
Okay.
There's no benefits to these GMOs. They're not. They don't produce more food. They don't create food to have longer shelf value. They're not more drought tolerant or use less resources like water or fuel or fertilizer.
Okay. Well then, if they're not producing that, are they in fact producing harm? And if so, in what way are they harmful?
Well, there's been a number of studies done on animals.
Okay.
And all those studies have shown that there is harm to the animals. There is gastrointestinal issues, reproductive issues,
Reproductive issues, huh?
and a myriad of breakdowns of all the different organs of the system.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's say we have little Johnny and his mom is unaware of GMOs, and that's all Johnny eats are GMO foods. Let's say Jimmy is eating healthy organic food. What would you say would be the difference in how their health is impacted, Johnny versus Jimmy?
Well, over the last 9 years, the GMOs have been pervasive in the marketplace. We've seen a dramatic rise in childhood diseases, from diabetes to arthritis and allergies. Rheumatoid arthritis is growing. Some of my close friends and family have been inflicted with that, as well as behavior problems like ADHD.
Okay.
And there's a new study out by the Journal of Pediatrics that links the consumption of pesticides with behavioral problems such as ADHD.
Oh boy, that makes a lot of sense. That something just that is a toxin would impact a child's behavior and their development.
And the American Academy of Environmental Medicine has come out in May of 2009 with a policy statement strongly recommending doctors to prescribe a non-GMO diet to everyone. And that's because they reviewed all the research and determined that there is a close enough link between these food products and a myriad of diseases. So there isn't, there's no clinical studies, there's no long-term analysis of the effects on humans because no one's required it.
My name is Melissa Lewis, and I'm from Rainsville, Alabama. I didn't come home from school, and he was like, "Mom, my bottom hurts so bad, you know, I'm having a hard time walking, and I can't hardly sit down or anything." And I said, "Well, what's wrong with it?" And he said, "I got a paddling today from my teacher for not passing a science test." And I said, "Well, let me see." And he showed me his bottom, and automatically rage went from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head. Peyton was bruised from one side to the other with busted blood vessels and everything. So
That your son sustained.
yes. I pick up the phone and I call the principal of the school since I know him personally, and I tell him about the issue, and he said, "Well, I'll discuss it with you in the morning. Just meet me at the office." And I said, "No, he's abused my child and I want him arrested." And he said, "Well, just do whatever you have to do." And I said, "Okay." So I picked up the phone and I called the Child Protective Services, and I told them that my son had been abused and that I needed to make a report. And they started the report, and whenever I told them that it was his teacher at school, they automatically stopped doing the report and told me they couldn't do anything, that corporal punishment's legal and that teachers can beat my children. Yes, it just stopped at that point. I mean, she was ready to come out and take a report and everything, and whenever she said, "Okay, who is, you know, the perpetrator of the beating?" And I said, "Well, it was the teacher and at the school," and it automatically stopped there. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you. That in Alabama, that teachers can beat children."
Wow, that's just some unbelievable
that he's
stuff.
prosecuted parents for a lot less bruising than that.
And has taken their children away
Yes.
for the same beating and the same bruises that teachers create on a child.
Yes, my best friend works for the Child Protective Services, and she says she's picked up many children with less bruises than that.
Wow. So what is it? Did they explain anything about why teachers are protected when they commit these crimes, basically?
They're protected because we do have corporal punishment in our schools, and they're protected by the sovereignty laws and stuff around the teachers. You send your child to school to learn, to be cared about, you know, protected. You get all this material saying that, you know, this school does not allow bullying, we don't allow any kind of violence. So you wouldn't think that a teacher would be committing this bullying and this violence, but it happens.
Exactly.
It happens a lot. He thinks he's all in the right because he's got away with it for 20 years. He's had, you know, tons of reports made on him and nothing's ever happened, because I don't think anybody ever maybe had the passion that I have. People keep telling me that they think God put this in my life right now to deal with. Me time, you know, to deal with this, to go to the Board of Education 15, 20 times, you know, time to run to the sheriff's office to try to push him to be arrested. I was like, you know, how would you feel if this happened to Kelly? What would you do?
Right.
And he said, as a parent, Melissa, I don't know how you're taking it. But he said, as a teacher, that gives me and him the permission to do this. You know, I have to stand behind my teacher. I'm just like, you wouldn't allow this to happen. You know, he did take the paddle out of the teacher's hand, which I know that had to be the biggest blow for a bully. That, I mean, a man that paddles 10 kids average a day, that had to be just terrible for him to have that took away from him. He threatened the children every time they moved to be paddled.
Boys and girls?
Yes.
So
the boys more than the girls, but yes, the girls too.
And what is the age group? These are 12-year-old girls.
12 and 13-year-olds.
Pubescent girls and boys.
Yes. And then I had a meeting with the Board of Education finally after my 100 trips up there, begging for the superintendent to speak with me. Finally, he told me that I could get him on his cell phone. Like, I can just have that number laying around, his cell phone number. Oh. So that's the best way to reach him. That's why, I mean...
The superintendent, would, you mean those bruises did not have the superintendent have you walk on into his office?
Oh, no. It took the local news media doing the story before he would even see me.
And what was his attitude when he finally did?
All he wanted to talk about was the size of my son, how big he was, how he was going to be a good football player, how the school he goes to is such a great school. Nothing around the real issue of it. I will never. I'm so mad at myself because I voted for this man. Never again. I will be his worst nightmare when it comes to election time for him. I will be out there with my signs saying he supports my children being beaten.
He does.
But then whenever I was in the meeting, 1 minute they said that they're still investigating the teacher and the incident, and the next minute they offered me child abuse counseling for Peyton. Offered to pay for his counseling.
Okay.
So if he didn't abuse him, why would they need to pay for the counseling?
Exactly.
They're contradicting themselves. I don't want a penny. I want his job.
Right.
I want him to be fired. I want him to go to jail. That's what would happen to me if I beat my child. I would lose my children and I would go to jail.
That's right.
That's what should happen to him. He should lose his class and he should go to jail.
When you wake up in the morning, how does this affect you?
I'm getting over it a little bit as it goes along, but if I sit and just think about it, I just about go nuts. Because whenever I think about how Peyton told me, you know, Mom, my knees were shaking so hard because I was so scared of him. He's so big. Yeah. And when he hit me, I felt like I was going through the wall. You know, to think that my child, I sent him somewhere to a school to be protected and took care of. And they just took the liberty of abusing my child. I mean, the big old man that, you know, just to think of the fear that my child had to have to stand there and listen to this man tell him how he was going to beat him before he did it, and then have to stand there and just take it.
Oh, so the teacher said, what was that like?
He gave him a long speech before he did it and told him that how his dad beat him when he was a child, how he beat his own children, and now he was fixing to beat them. His exact words was, beat y'all. So, you know, he is a, you know, ex-college football player, lineman, on video games. And
he does that at least 10 times a day? Yeah. This man, and the principal lets him get away with that?
For 20 years. Endless people have told me how they've made reports and it just gets swept under the rug and everybody's supposed to forget it.
Anything like this? Have you ever been paddled?
I was paddled whenever I was a senior in high school. I was 18 years old.
18 years old.
He said, you know, I have to paddle y'all. Because that is what I have to do for y'all skipping school.
And you were all 18?
Yes.
Why did he feel that he had to?
Because that was the rules. If you skipped school, you had to get corporal punishment.
Feel that justice was served for your son?
I want his job. I want him fired, and I want him in jail.
Yeah. If you could meet George Miller today, what would you say to him, knowing that this could have all been avoided?
I would ask him if he would stand still and let this man hit him. He expects our children to stand there and let these barbaric teachers, these bullies, just beat our children. I want to know if he would stand there and let him hit him. Yeah. If he will, I'll let it stay in school. I won't say another word. If these people that won't pass this bill will stand up and let this man hit them, I won't say another word. I'll let it go. Because none of them's going to stand there and let him hit him.
Oh, absolutely. George Miller.
He will be in detention center. But you know what? He might be safer in detention because they can't beat children there.
Oh, I see. Wow. Look at these different rules that just, you know, random rules on, well, not in detention, but over here, not in the street. But this is okay, not in the home, but in the principal's office. I mean, what is that all about?
It's crazy.
It is.
The laws are just
whatever works for their system is the law.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I thank you so much for this opportunity. What did he say once he did that?
He said, I took it easy on you that time.
13-year-old Peyton Lewis is an honor student and an athlete. But Peyton says when he failed a science test earlier in this school year, his teacher told him to meet out in the hallway.
He said, well, my daddy beat me, I beat my children, so that's what I'm about to do to y'all.
How many times did it hit you?
Just once.
Hard?
Yes.
Very hard?
Extremely.
Peyton says this was the result.
I was crying. I was in extreme pain. He shows me his bottom. As soon as I looked at it, it was just like rage from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet.
His mother went to the principal, the police, even the prosecutor here in this tiny Alabama town.
I was even told by the lady at the district attorney's office, we prosecute less child abuse than this every day, but they can't prosecute this.
That's because Peyton's paddling was done by a teacher. In 20 states, it is perfectly legal for a teacher to hit a child. According to congressional testimony, up to 20,000 students a year request medical treatment after corporal punishment. Generally, the injuries involve bruising and broken blood vessels. This is what is actually used?
This is a wooden board or a paddle, and this is the kind of device of choice.
We went to the school superintendent with photos of Peyton's injuries to get answers. How could this happen?
We're doing a story about paddling in the school, and we're trying to find out whether you think that this is acceptable.
Sir, I don't have any comment for you. Don't appreciate the way you came in. Think you're highly unprofessional. Have a good day.
So you're
Have a good day, sir.
Peyton's school says it has now stopped paddling. Peyton and his mom are not satisfied. They are suing. They say their goal is not only to get Peyton's teacher fired, but also to change the law.
You know, you can't even hit a dog. You can't hit a prisoner, but you can hit my child because he made a bad grade. Makes me crazy.